Hey guys again, welcome to my channel. And as you know, the candidates is over. Contrast to the generational talent Mukesh Damaraju from India, who is only 17 years old but managed to win the candidates, half a point away from three super strong stars: Hikaru, Nepomniachtchi, and Fabi as well, right? Rock got 5th place with 7 points out of 14. Bridget was 6th, Others was 7th, and Nijat was 8th. Once again, so thank you all the players for the epic showing, and we're honored to witness such an event, right? So in round 14, the last round of the candidates, there are many things happening. Mukesh played Black against Hikaru, and Fabi and Yan need to battle directly and need a win on demand to catch Mukesh, right? So let's come to the detail and trying to talk about the games. So first of all, I will talk about the game between Hikaru and Mukesh first. Obviously, I will try to go from the game that I think is the most important, right? Before going to the other games later on. So here, first of all, we have Hikaru play with Mukesh. Before this game, Hikaru got 8 points out of 13, and Mukesh got 8.5. Hikaru basically is white and he needs to win on demand. Let's go and see what he plays. D4? For me, it is already a slight surprise, as I expect E4 or like really best to be played by Hikaru, but I guess that in this game he decided D4 is the better way to try and initiatives. D5, C4, and GC4. After this game and after this event, I think that now people will realize that the Queen's Gambit accepted, the QGA, is a line that is so annoying to deal with as white, and it is just so hard to win with the white pieces, right? I think this line is seen a lot in the women candidates. I think one of the game in the main session wants to have this line available, but I forget the name. So, knight 3 in the game, knight 6, e3, e6 is the main line, c4. Here the main line obviously is a6, right? But here in the game, so Mukesh went for a relatively different approach. e7, c3. Here the main move obviously is castles, castles. This one is already pretty rare. Most of the players here play, I think they would play like a6 or c5. This one is rare a little bit. I think the main line is like castles, I think so. In the game, Hikaru decided to go for another approach. c3, c5, c5, a3. This one I think is a bit like mysterious in my opinion. Hikaru thought here for 12 minutes, but here, so I think the idea should be like maybe you try the castles, and then like maybe queen e2, and this one I think is a better try to go for some fight in my opinion, but I mean maybe he couldn't like that, so who knows, right? In game a3 was play, I guess the idea here is trying to prepare this retreat in the future if possible, if needed. So castles in the game is here, okay, queen e2 and b5. So for me, it is unwise to allow black to push b5 when black can have a relatively easy development and white doesn't have much, right? Is this the most aggressive line he could play? I don't know. I mean, nowadays I think the most aggressive line in this line is considered to be bishop e7, bishop c4, bishop e7 here, and white to go for this line c3 idea and e4. Like a3 is not that required, in my opinion. I suppose that Hikaru wants to get Mukesh out of his preparation, or out of some known territory. Here, so I think at this point, so move a3 in the game, right? Move 7 here is already a super rare move. There are only 4 players here playing in Chat.com. Explore, but somehow no one can win with white. But this one I think is not a very good experiment from Hikaru in the game. So here e5, I think black already is very okay. a2, my sense, cd4, cd4, b4, and black obviously trying to look for some tricks. ab4 here, black can just play here, you know, and the pawn here can be taken easily. When black can hold the balance, fairly simple, right? Fairly simple. Actually, I prefer to play black here in this type of situation. In the game, so knight e4, taking a3, take here back, b7. So you can see here, so white failed to create any kind of pressure on black's kings, which normally is the plan for white in this type of situation. And black already can play here, the pawn here is weak. Also, black can think about block on d5 as well. Black can be happy with the outcome of the game, of the opening. c3, and d5, understandable, right? Should d2, take here, and d7. If I'm Łukasz here, I'll be very, very happy. This one comes, and I think now only looking better. I feel at this point, Hikaru already should be disappointed about his opening, you know. He doesn't have much. In fact, I think he's even slightly worse. b1 here, one over the bishop, for the attack, but somehow, I mean, like, this one can be covered easily. See it? Tempo should be 2, knight f6. Like, is already slightly better in my opinion. The pawn here is a weakness, normally, so white can compensate for it by having an attack in the king side. Let's say bishop g5 or knight e5, but here all of them are slow, and black already get open file here as well. They block it, squares, and things looks great for him. Should d3, and in the game, black went for the pawn, which I think is the most direct way. He can should play a5 to keep up the tension and trying to keep the same kind of pawn structures. I think Łukasz decided that okay, it is easier to go for this. f3, f3, queen d4, d1. So here doesn't work, right? Because it hangs on d2. That's from my sense. d4. The pawn is covered easily, and somehow why need to prove its compensation for the pawn missing. Also, in the same time, black is very solid, so there are no attacking chances by any means. Just looking here, right? Give me 7. Double attack. Fair enough. c5 here. The main thing is that queen here will be extremely dangerous due to queen h4. Suddenly, white needs to deal with a strong attack from black, right? If, for instance, and this doesn't look fun at all. So was no time at all to take on a6. In the game, we almost play turn the pawn, a5. Simple, and the pawn is covered. b5, trip. And here, I think if Łukasz wanna win, he can play queen f4, you know? But by playing queen b5, Hikaru had realized that he is worse and he had no real chance to play for the win. Trip. Should be here, defend the pawn. Here, so as you see, right, black is extremely solid, has no weaknesses, and he could be worse here, obviously. In the game, d8, a4, king f8, it is completely equal. g3, e7, get a king up, king e2, f5. The pawn start marching. Obviously, black has the majority in the king side, right? Why not? c4, trips, b4. Black went for an endgame. That obviously is good for him. He only need a draw, right? So that makes sense to cover this. b1, c5, very safe play. Now here, c3, g5, just some activities, expand more in the king side. b5, a3. I think that is kind of very nice play by him though. This one is also playable. When the game, I think Łukasz just gave Hikaru no chance at all. a3 in the game, group c2, d4, takes, here for the pawn. But this is a clear draw when black has enough activities and no way he can reverse. f3, e4, on choice here, takes, 3-7, covered the group on a6, a7 square, h4 for the passer right away, takes, b4, So this is the ideas, right? When black can try to push the pawn and go for his own buzzers. H5, prevents c5, g7, d7 here, and this is basically a draw. When I think Hikaru did try, you know, but sadly, nothing can be done. This endgame is completely equal. Like the pawn on e4 that give him enough counterplay. I think even if the pawn doesn't exist here, it is still a draw, you know. The game here, here, just here on the time, and white can't even get away the checks, isn't it? In the game, so black went for the bishop here, and slide, which obviously land up in a completely equal ending. So in the game here, what's the here, right? And take, and a draw. A Long King draw, and once again, nice play from Wukash. He have never been worse. Never worse in the opening, which actually is good for him, right? For me, so I won't say that I am disappointed with Hikaru, but I genuinely hope that he can go for more or go for something more aggressive in the opening. Somehow, so I think you can see right away that his opening is not really a success, and he failed to create even a single piece of difficulties for Wukash to equalize, right? So like for instance, like maybe here you can try like knight c3 or e4. Both, I mean, can be a better chance to go for some activities in the game. So what he opted for was a bit, I think, too soft and too gentle, and it is not enough to give him any realistic chance. You understand, right? It's the issue here. Okay, so now let's go to game 2, which we both know is the most important game, right? And the most interesting game of the event. In game 14, Fabi against Nepomniachtchi. So Fabi and Nepomniachtchi, they both get 8 points out of 13, and one of them is a win here, right? So it is a pretty odd situation when both sides need to go for the win. A draw here doesn't work for anybody at all. As you know, so the main thing on the candidate is that you need to get second, right? No, you need to get first to be able to get into the World Champs. Second place means nothing. Get to the game here. So in the game, Fabi play d4. Here he play for this line, okay, which is actually also a thing I am not super surprised to see. g5 in the game, b4, main line okay here on the main variation. Assist here h4, g5. Here knight e4, still on the main line. I think I see the line played by Ian sometimes in the past. So don't surprise me that Ian played this line. I think he has played one against Magnus a few years ago, I believe. In the game, c2, let's play h5, still the main variation. f3, okay, main thing here, takes. This line, I think when Fabi went for it, it is already a sign that he wanted to go for the win. In fact, I can tell that after this move. So now, according to my engine, Black has like 49% chance of winning, 27% of a draw, and only 24% of the losses chances. So according to the statistics, Black is doing good here, you know. This is gonna clear that Fabi wants to go for something upbeat or something that can look a bit, you know, tricky to have some winning chances available. In the game here, still quickly played by Jan. His trap indeed, right? d3, 6 here, trying to keep it safe in the center. All understandable. Let's also go for the attack. This one I think is already a signal from Fabi that he wants to go all in. d7, f4. This is a threat. Also the knight can go f3, you know, right away as well. g4 in the game. f3. The engine here suggests that the best way to play is bishop e2. That can trade the bishops and may make the pawn become weakened. But I guess knight f3 is more logical. Like in fact, when I take a look at this position, so knight f3 is also my first thought. Next, queen is on here, e4. Already some fireworks on the board, right? Which looks very, very cool. King c3 in the game. So take here with the bishop bc3 looks like a bit risky, right? When this one can become available. So queen c3, I think so, yep. The thing people may ask here is that why couldn't black take a pawn, but then queen e4 allowed e1, right? When the queen and the king is skewered in the e file. So black cannot take the bishop. In the game, Ian went for another idea. f3 in the game, castle g3 in the game, g4, e4, and here g4. That's just nice. I think here, so what Ian mainly considers like gf4, and you can play castles and play here as well. But I think black is doing objectively good. But in the game, Fabi went for g4, which put pressure on this pawn and sacrifice the pawn as well in order to accelerate his attack. Once again, a bold choice, but apparently the move that I think just show his intention clearly, right? In the game here, castles. I think h4 should be considered. I'm not so sure what Fabi can play after this, but I think the main line can be like d5, I think so. And then queen c5. This, and this, I don't know, this should be fine as well for him though. So I'm not so sure what Ian was care about here at this point. Castles, I mean like maybe black one castles, right? So why not something here? Rook e1 looks also very cool. But then keep that as well. That's sure that looks a bit scary, right? Looks a bit scary. Here the engine show me a super cool defense with queen f6. I don't mean this one obviously. Queen f6. d7. Take here is a bit risky, so engine found king b8 exclamation mark. When the king is safe, and this is next, right? So bishop f5 here lands to equality, but this one is not that easy to be calculated, isn't it? So in the game, Ian look for safety right away, which is understandable. d5. Pressure on black instantly, making plenty of sense. h4 takes. This one suddenly looks very dangerous. White must be favored here. c5 on the move. Take here allow mate on b7, isn't it? Which can never be a good choice. So in the game, let's c5 in the game here. Checks, f5, king b8. b1, hit the king away from the possible checks. And attack here on c5 here, which makes plenty of sense. b6. The main thing is take here allow queen b4. And I think the pawn here may drop. And the pin here looks very annoying, right? I think this is already dead loss for yeah. So couldn't take the pawn in the game, play b6. Obviously he didn't want to put the pawn here so strong, right? But he doesn't have any other chances to play at all. b7, which actually is a very cool one by Fabi. He wants here or here, and he wants to remove the knight as well too, which is a strong defender. Nice choice by Fabi. Take the rook here. Here, so knight d7 is lost right away due to here, right? c7, king here, take with the queen. Here e4 when the king is in huge trouble. Isn't it? So in the game, black took with the rook here, rook d7, cd7, white. I mean the material is equal now, but the pawn here is stronger. Black king can be easier to get attack, and somehow it's not easy here to fight away for black to push each pawn, right? So that is why white is technically winning here. The main thing is if he can try to convert here cleanly or not, right? That is a story. Rook d8, defend the pawn. Queen d4, take the pawn f4 as well too, and also put pressure on this diagonal. On this file, I'm sorry for that. In the game, b1, pressure on the pin, fair enough. We survive in the game here. King c7, lock queen f4, you know, when it's looking very fun. King c8 is into the pin, knight e5 also into pin as well too. So I think it's just annoying, you know, what happened? For instance, here you can play like maybe queen a4 or g5, right? When I think white is close to get a full point. In the game, queen c5 was played by Ian. A nice, I think, idea here to get the game into an end game and trying to minimize the problems. For instance, queen c5 right away, allowed pawn takes. Rook d7 is even a loss when the pawn here cannot be stopped, right? Bishop d7 also is not working due to king here, and bishop here also lose instantly due to this. The pawn also promotes, right? So in the game, queen f4 was play, checks, and hold the pawn for free. d7, queen d2, simply with habit, make plenty of sense. h3, Ian lies on his hook with this pawn, so obviously it's fair. He pushed the pawn right now. e4, go for this ideas here. The pin here doesn't work anymore. But h2, you know, it is like who can take here, and I think one must be a bit careful to convert it. So in the game e4 for this. If in the game, queen g5, king e7. This is technically dead loss. I think here, so the simplest way to win here, I feel, is like you play g5, I guess, so play f4 and play here when black is completely tied up, right? Even f4 and bishop here can also win as well. I think for me, if I were white, I would play f4, and then maybe let's say play here h1, take here is mid, right? So now black is fully tied up. I can play g5 and push the pawn slowly when black has no answer to it. When the game, suddenly if I be misconverted, which I guess it's hard to guess what happened in the playing hole, right? k7, k7 in the game here, still winning completely. h2, here, fair enough. I would like f4 more, but okay, this is still winning completely. King b8, a3. Actually, I don't know why. I mean, like, can Fabi play loop h1? Which I want to ask actually. Maybe allow knight c5. I don't know. Queen h2. Takes knight e4. This endgame should win as well, right? White 2 pawns up here, and the king can go to support it fairly simply. I think this should also be played as well. I don't know. This one for me is much simpler. In the game it was play, somehow when you have so many chances to win, right, it's hard to find the best way to convert it. Queen e5 in the game, queen here, okay, fair. Queen back home, obviously the pawn here must be covered. g5 finally. Rook g8. Which one? c5. Bishop here. I mean, this is winning, but I don't know. I still think this is easier. c2 first, right? c2 first. And after that, you play here into the pawn, and it's over, right? Another chance. Second chance for Fabi to win the game. So here, this one is winning still, but it allows some, I think, maybe difficulties to convert. g5, I think, exclamation mark. It gave Ian the best practical chance, which obviously I think annoys Fabi, right? Rather than winning easily here with this one and doesn't allow any counterplay at all, now counterplay exists, which make it much more complicated than it can be. Here, queen e7, check, queen a1, c2. Black suddenly gets some activities here, and the game now become harder, right? Harder. Somehow, so I don't know. The main thing that happened here, I guess, is like suddenly Fabi allows some counterplay. For me, as a player who has also played over the board for like some time, I realized that it is always very annoying to allow some counterplay when you are completely winning, isn't it? It's not fun at all to allow it. So in the game, he allowed things happen, and then here I think he just get very tough, right? Also here, I think the way to play is king a2, not king a1. You're right, Pokra. I guess here in the game, Fabi failed to understand the difference between one of those. I guess here, so king a2, he is worried about the checks here, isn't it? Checks here, for instance. Like king a1, knight b3, king b1, for instance. I don't know what he or fear about, like, for sure, but also, I don't know. I guess, like, after queen c2 here, you can play queen to f4, and you can win the pawn for free, right? If you play king a1, you don't have the same problems. Here you got knight b3, knight c1 with perpetual check. So somehow things now change, and that is what happened here. So yeah, I think in the game, so he just kind of, but nothing is straight. Third chance miss. C2 in the game. Queen g8, king a7, king a2. The king now actually is safe, but a4 comes. The king is still in somewhat like a cage, right? It still feels very annoying. f4, push the pawn, maybe 3. This is the ideas, obviously, right? For perpetual. Queen g7 checks. King here, king c3. Still nice by Fabi. He got things under control. But the main thing now comes is nerves and time, right? 2. Queen c4 checks here, okay. King b7, e1. Still nice play by Fabi, but sadly the win is still far away. c5. I think I have seen this point. So the only way to win here, I think, is queen f1. Here and then king b1, you know, when the queen can come here f1 to defend the from promoting, and push the pawn as well too. But yeah, it has become much harder right now. In the game, queen f1, queen d5. Saw that? King b1. Own correct. Queen f5 in the game, king e1. c2 again. See, right? It looks so damn annoying. f5, knight b3, just king a2, and there's no more checks. In the game, knight d3. Ian just keep on putting pressure on black. I mean on white. The thing here is that when you are down on time, you need to play precise with the moves, right? That make it so hard. It's just like so easy to go wrong here. So hard to really blame Fabi, to be honest. We won in the game. Defend the pawn on b2, c5. f6 here. Why not? Knight b3, king a2, knight d2. There is the skewer. No, there is the double attack, the 4. But doesn't work here at all. Queen h1 checks. King here, rook c1. To get out, it is still completely winning. King b3, king a1. Also, now this become available, right? When the knight is not on c5 anymore. Now this looks completely deadly. In the game, it's here, checks. Actually, this is a drawing mistakes. Here, I think there are only 2 ways to win, but it's not easy at all. One way is rook d1. Knight b3, king b1, and then here black has nothing. And just like I can take the pawn here f6, you know, which allow white to come h2 here, which I think the queen comes to defend things and should be winning technically. Although it's not easy, you know, it should be winning for white. If you can get rid of the annoying pawn on h2, that really managed to tie up the white pieces. So in the game, rook c7, this sadly is a drawing mistakes. King here, f7, knight b3, king b1, and here, in fact, it is a draw. But I mean, you need to calculate knight d2. When king c1 allow queen e4 exclamation mark, which is a very tough, you know, very tough to be found. Right? And king dc2 allow queen to f5. Now queen e4 doesn't work since you don't have the checks with tempo. Oops. Here, right? Now this is not a check anymore, so your king got in the missing corner. So here is the draw in the game. It is Ian Santomista. Pretty close. Yeah, you were right. Rook e1 is also another way to play as well, you know. e1, when queen here allow queen h2, and knight b3 allow king a2, you know, and it is also winning as well for sure. But once again, I mean, in time scramble and in such a tense position, we missed that. Here, king here, f7, and I mean, for me, it's hard to blame Fabi, since here it is easily missed. That somehow queen e4 is such, I mean, a neat way to play, and it is also super unpredictable, right? So in the game here, so Fabi, I mean, Ian make mistake as well. e5, e2, knight c5, queen a8, b5, and here, so Fabi is down in time, so we go some checks here, checks. But here he missed the win. Queen e8, right? We all know it. When king a5 leads to queen e1, and here queen e2 in the pawn now drop. It's a thing, right? It's a thing, which make it very, very sad. I guess the idea here that I can feel is that Fabi should have seen this one, but he also saw some annoying things. f8 knight, I don't know. I mean here, right? I don't think f8 knight. Actually, you are right. f8 knight, I don't know. It may allow queen f1. When I think here the king on e5 is surprisingly safe due to the knight on c5 is a good defender. This should also be a draw. Should be a draw as well. f8 knight is a cool move here to prevent the checks, but it is not working as well. So what I realized when I trying to see the game later on is that here after queen e8, king e6, queen e2, right? I mean like here, so what I find annoying is like something with maybe I think king here is made, right? I think like I mean I think I should be 5 when pitch to allow a draw. But here once again the way to win is fairly slim. Rook c6, you know. When king here is winning, but here you play this one. And here I think the way to win is queen e3 when this is this move. But yeah, it's hard in general, right? Here, so there are many lines to calculate. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not so sure what does Fabi miss in his calculation, you know. This is the best way to win. Like, it's the last chance to win, to be honest. Queen e2, queen e3, and queen h2. When now queen e6 doesn't work here, when the king can run away, right? Easily. The knight here, in fact, prevent many available checks. So this one, for instance, queen d5, king a1, and the knight here prevent checks in the b3, right? And the one as well, right? So it is now fully dead loss. In the game, in time scramble, we missed that, which I think comes as a very sad thing for every people involved, right? I know. I think maybe like it is, I mean, as mentioned earlier, is when nerves comes. You are so close to get it, but then you have some ways to choose, and it became hard, right? Here, queen e8, here again, e7, and this is over. After this one, there's no win anymore. Queen a8 and queen e2 is the last way to try. Sadly, he missed that, and now no more way to go back anymore. Somehow there's no way to defend the pawn from promoting, and the win became impossible. Queen e8 here, just here, queen e8 now. Sadly, now the win is unavailable, right? Probably trying to give checks here to keep his chance alive, but sadly, the game is done. Queen here, e4, best chance available. Basically here, so f8, you know, let's say this point, allow queen c4 with perpetual, right? It's a threat. Queen d5 allow the pawn to promote, which also end in perpetual as well. King here has no defenders, right? So somehow here, I think the game probably went for the best practical chance. But sadly, now this endgame is a dead draw. Queen e4, checks. Here, queen e4 again. Check here, see, right? But then nothing can work. That's the only way to try. But somehow this is so hard to win here since black is very, very safe. The king here independent pawn, and somehow white cannot be able to create a passer easily since if the pawn push like so far away, the queen can start giving checks, right? So in the game, the players play for a few more moves, but the result sadly is never in doubt, right? Fabi try. He keep on trying, keep on pushing, keep on riding, but sadly, there's no way to win at all when black can defend fairly easily, right? See in the game that Ian just play very fast here without thinking a lot. So he's just pushing, but sadly, right? And a draw was agreed here at this point. When I think Fabi must feel devastated, right? Devastated. That obviously is a very unfortunate moment when Fabi clearly can have more than a draw, right? So I mean, I think we all feel bad for Fabi, right? He was so close to get 3 wins in a row and trying to get to the tie breaks. He failed to deliver. I think he has at least 5 chances to win the game, right? 5 chances, different ways, but he didn't manage to do it. I think, I mean, obviously it will not come to like Fabi's nightmare. I feel like he will feel so bad about this game that he may quit chess for like a few days, I guess so. I mean, if I were Fabi here, I would feel so bad, right? I mean, Fabi obviously is a much more professional player compared to me. He would be able to deal with it in a nice way, but somehow I would be so devastated, you know, in my opinion, if I was in this stuff, you know, can tell for sure. So the other 2 games actually are not that important, but I will mention that briefly. This game is between Alireza and Vidit, and they obviously have nothing to play for, right? They have nothing to play for, and they went for the famous Berlin draw, which, if you can remember, it is also what Hikaru and Hifamiyashi drew last year, right? So it's the end of event for them, isn't it? And obviously a forgettable one, I think, for Alireza as well. Last game is between Nijat and Prok, and it is nice to see that Prok can still win here. When somehow he also had nothing to play for, right? He went for the King's Indian. I think this line is the line that Dania play a lot, so Dania will happy and will be proud to see this, isn't it? So they play this line, which is what I play as well too. So it's nice to see this line being played. I guess that he just was fine at this point, but then d5 is a bit, I think, hasty. d2 was queen 4. I think he was worried about queen b2. This one is never a threat. Somehow in the game, so Nijat go for the threats, which I think make Black's task easier. Here, right? E5 here, and then with like strong pieces in the center, Black has enough activities. And in the game here, so I think White struggles to fight activities, and then Bishop he looks so damn powerful, right? So in the game, Nijat failed to deal with it. Allow Black to slowly make a plan, activate his pieces, and try to make his plan become, I think, working. BC3 is also very, I think, arguable. I don't know why he played that one. BC3 looks much more natural. I don't know who he plans though. To the pawn? I don't understand that. Actually, here, A3 got things covered, but then the structures look so damn bad, right? In the long term, only Black have a chance to win, and in the game, so Prok proves that. So just like some slow maneuvers here, and queen threats and b5. Well, suddenly, Black can invade, isn't it? Invade. And why so many weak pawns? Which proved to be so important, right? Oh, here, so this comes a3. It's just here, prepare g5, right? c1 in the game. Here, c4, a3, d1 for the pawn. Here's one as well. White cannot do anything at all, and the game obviously is over in a few moves. Here, h3, and White resign when he's down so many pawns here in the resulting endgame. So that's fun game here. So once again, congrats to all the players congrats to Mukesh again for such, I think, a great performance from you, and just like, I think, a result that nobody can expect at the beginning of the event, right? We will come. I mean, we will come back to see the world champs at the end of this year when Mukesh will play Deep, and obviously, if Mukesh can win, it's gonna be super epic for him, who can become one of the youngest world champs ever, right? We'll come back there to see how things can be. For now, Mukesh can take his, I think, deserved rest, and maybe he will be the star. Actually, he's a star already. He can become a superstar for the world of chess. Thank you guys for hearing the videos. Hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully you enjoyed the recap. Feel free to give me any feedbacks, and I will see you later. Thank you, and peace.